Hello, my name is Christopher Anatra. I am the president and founder of a software technology company named NECS Incorporated. Welcome to episode 2 of my Quantum Businessman series titled Gilligan's Mandela Island. And thank you for continuing to want to continue the conversation. With this episode, I want to dive deep into the concept of understanding the whys of a Mandela effect. Are Mandela effects random, or do they have a deeper meaning and purpose? And if they do, how do we figure that out? And of course, what could be the causes behind them? I wanted to take a random Mandela effect and see if I could create an entire episode from just that one change to our reality. What you are about to see is the result of that effort. I had no idea of where I would end up with this, but you are about to see that unfold. This episode is going to require a bit of an open mind, so sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful Mandela effect that started from the internet aboard this tiny video clip. I know, next time I'll leave the rhyming to the experts. If you aren't familiar with Gilligan's Island, this episode will still have meaning. So put on your life vest, buckle it up, and let's get started.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailing man, the skipper brave and sure. 5 passengers set sail that day for a 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour. The weather started getting rough. The tiny ship was tossed. If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost. The minnow would be lost.
As a young boy in the 70s, I used to love watching all the repeats of Gilligan's Island as soon as I got home from school. Gilligan always made me laugh, and sometimes I needed that after a stressful day at school. Recently, I was made aware of some Mandela effects regarding Gilligan's Island that I wanted to check out for myself. So I watched a few episodes with my 2 younger sons and was happy to see how they got a big kick out of Gilligan, just like I did as a boy. I swear, in every episode, those castaways should have been rescued, but Gilligan would always goof it up. After you watch this video, I am certain that you will never think of Gilligan's Island in the same way. I am certain that you will never think of a Mandela effect the same way. You will understand that there is a deeper meaning to each Mandela effect and want to search for that deeper meaning. Interestingly, in the theme song to Gilligan's Island, part of it says, "If not for the courage of the fearless crew, the minnow would be lost. The minnow would be lost." Lost. That makes me think of another TV series named Lost. The dynamic between J.J. Abrams' Lost series and Gilligan's Island is actually quite prolific. Some even feel that Abrams based the popular Lost series off Gilligan's Island. If you are familiar with Lost, you'll remember that there was a plane crash onto a tropical island. So we have that concept of survivors or castaways being stranded on a remote island. And episode after episode, despite all their efforts, the survivors of both Gilligan's Island and Lost just can't get off the island. Now, the year is 1977, and you could probably imagine my excitement as a boy because the made-for-TV movie Rescue from Gilligan's Island was made. The castaways were finally rescued. But at the end of the movie, they all wound up back on the island. What? Then, in 1979, I became super excited because the TV special, The Castaways of Gilligan's Island, came out. But at the end of that show, they wound up back on the island again, this time by choice. Let's engage your super genius technology and more clearly reveal the lost connection to Gilligan's Island. In Lost, in the season finale, which many longtime viewers were not happy about, you find that the survivors were not actually survivors, but dead. The plane had crashed and all life was lost. This is open to interpretation, but the survivors in Lost were in a trapped dream or purgatory type world. That is why they never could truly escape, even though it appeared that they were rescued and brought back to civilization in the last episode. The connection is that the SS Minnow, the ship from Gilligan's Island, actually sank during the storm. Gilligan and all the castaways died. The castaways were actually trapped in a type of dream world where their consciousness was stuck on this remote island. Trapped in a hologram, stuck in a dream. Is that symbolic of our situation in our holographic world? Are we trapped in a dream world? Or is it possible we can ascend our consciousness and escape and move on to higher possibilities, higher timeline potentials? I would say yes to that, most definitely. You might be wondering, what are the Mandela effects of Gilligan's Island? The first and most obvious Mandela effect for myself and many others is that Gilligan now wears a tan hat. I always remember his hat being bright white, and that white color of his hat matching with the white of the collar on his red shirt. This particular Mandela effect is very noticeable and stands out for anyone who watched the show in a previous timeline. The purpose of this Mandela effect is to catch your attention, to let you know that Gilligan's Island is now different from our memories. It certainly was the first thing that I immediately noticed when watching Gilligan with my boys. The next interesting thing to note is how Gilligan is now connected to another Mandela effect, the JFK assassination. Yes, I said that Gilligan's Island and the JFK assassination are connected Mandela effects. The JFK assassination Zapruder film is a very eye-opening Mandela effect for many people. As I had mentioned in my first video about this subject, I had a distinct and precise memory of 4 people in the car when JFK was shot, not 6 as it currently is. You can research this for yourself and see if it is a Mandela effect for you. Now, here is the connection with the JFK assassination. The opening sequence of Gilligan's Island, when the SS Minnow is leaving the harbor in Hawaii, was filmed the day after JFK was assassinated. When you look at all the flags in the harbor, they are all at half-mast because our president was dead. So even though it was a day of grief and shock for the American people on November 23, 1963, the producers of Gilligan's Island still went ahead and filmed that now famous opening scene, and in so doing, connected 2 Mandela effects. These connected Mandela effects are part of a web of connections that someone in the future will uncover to create a map of the keys to unlock the secrets of reality. Interesting, yes? The next Mandela effect has to do with eye color. All the castaways, except for the millionaire, Mr. Howell, now have green eyes. Green eyes that are quite obvious. Only 2% of the entire human population have green eyes, so the green eye color is very rare. However, 6 of the 7 castaways now have green eyes. What does that mean? And what is the symbology of each castaway? Gilligan, played by Bob Denver. I clearly remember his brown eyes. The skipper now has green eyes. Marianne, played by Dawn Wells, the girl from the Midwest. I clearly remember her brown hair and dark eyes. They are now so bright green, I thought she was wearing colored contact lenses. Ginger, the movie star, played by Tina Louise. The Professor, played by Russell Johnson. Mrs. Howell, the millionaire's wife, also known as Lovey, played by Natalie Schafer, now has bright green eyes. Mr. Howell, the millionaire, has kept his brown eyes. Now, I want to be sure that you understand that if you have brown, black, green, blue, or violet eyes, that doesn't mean anything negative or positive in any way. What could a change in eye color possibly mean? The change in eye color is symbolic. Those castaways who had their eye color changed to green appear to represent a higher timeline. When you watch these actors now, you can seem to sense something more than eye color is at play. They seem to have more charisma. When you watch someone with high charisma, you are inspired and want to be like them. Someone's charisma and passion can actually inspire you. You can pick up their traits. In fact, every episode of Gilligan's Island teaches something important lessons to lead a successful and happy life. You can call this a higher timeline. For example, one episode taught the power of the placebo effect. Also, you learn the importance of forgiveness, because in every episode, Gilligan was forgiven for goofing up because his heart was always in the right place. And when times are tough, the only thing that matters are those around you.
What are you doing there, little buddy?
I'm burning the bush with the mind-reading seeds.
The seeds! The seeds!
Oh, that's smart. I burnt my little pinky.
Did you burn all the seeds?
Yep, the whole bush and everything. Oh, I suppose you think it's the dumbest thing I ever did. But we never fought and argued before we could read minds, and now that we can't read minds, maybe we could be friends again, huh? Okay. If everybody wants to yell at me for being a dumbbell, go ahead.
Gilligan, for a guy who's always doing dumb things, when you do something smart, it's beautiful.
Other episodes taught the dangers of greed. And no matter how much money you have, everyone is equal when there's trouble. When it comes to greed, you also become reminded of Mr. Howell, the millionaire. His eyes stayed brown.
Mr. Howell, did you sneak that case out of my hut?
How dare you make such an accusation?
Do you think I became the head of a dozen international corporations by stooping to thievery?
Well, of course not.
Shows how naive you are. How else to get to the top of the financial jungle? Of course I took it.
Oh, there's an outlaw.
Well, thank you for confessing, Mr. Howell. Now, where is it?
He was always trying to buy his way out of difficult situations, and that never worked. That is symbolic of the message of his timeline not advancing for people that are greedy or selfish and do not want to learn anything new. So his eyes stayed the same. So now we are at a point where you are just realizing how deep and symbolic and connected these Mandela effects can go. And this is just with Gilligan's Island. And you might be wondering what may cause them. What other ways can you determine their deeper meanings and connections? Let's get another perspective. Next, we're going to talk with Sean Bond. One of his specialties is reading into the hidden meaning of Mandela effects.